What caused the deadliest day in human history? A meteor? A nuclear bomb? Flood? It was none of those. Keep watching to learn what single event killed more than 800,000 people. In the development of Chinese civilization, the importance of central China is difficult to overstate. Specifically important are the provinces of Shaanxi and Shaanxi. Shaanxi boasted Xi'an, a flourishing capital that served as the seat of the imperial administration for 13 dynasties. But the magnetic allure of the metropolitan center didn't end there. Xi'an also represented a launching-off point for the Silk Road, connecting a network of trade routes stretching from the Middle East to Central Asia and other regions in China. Located on the Weihe River, the area contains countless archaeological sites. The oldest of these dates back to 600,000 years ago when Neolithic communities first embraced agriculture. By the Middle Ages, Xi'an was renowned as one of the largest metropolises worldwide. Many refer to Xi'an and surrounding Shaanxi as the Cradle of Chinese civilization, and with good reason. This area contains incredible artifacts and monuments to prove its claim to that title, from the Greater Wild Goose Pagoda in Dayate to the Forest de Lay of Beilin and the Bell Tower of Zhonglao. But perhaps the most famed historic site in the region remains the terracotta army of Shen Su Huang. It's a collection of life-sized warriors in full battle array prepared to perpetually guard the Shen Emperor's tomb. But despite all the advancements in Shaanxi and Shaanxi, neither province proved invincible when it came to natural disasters, a vulnerability shared with contemporary settlements today. On January 23, 1556, a massive earthquake and aftershocks rocked the prosperity of Shaanxi and Shaanxi provinces. In the aftermath of the seismic catastrophe, a chain of events including fires, ground fissures, landslides, and mudslides contributed to an unfathomable death toll. For those who survived the event, they experienced one living nightmare after another. It was a perfect storm of destruction. While estimating casualty figures from so long ago is difficult, most scholars agree that roughly 830,000 people perished because of the quake. To provide some context for this number, consider the death toll attributed to the American Civil War. Recently revised figures put that final casualty count at 750,000 over 4 years. Now add 80,000 to that figure and shrink the time frame significantly, and you start to grasp the magnitude of the tragic events at Shaanxi and Shaanxi. What's most alarming about this natural disaster is the fact that the internal tremors only lasted a few seconds, yet the incredible force contributed to a deadly domino effect that devastated the region and local populations. While other earthquakes have proven higher on the Richter scale, none of them killed as many people as this one did. Emperor Jiangjing of the Ming Dynasty led imperial China at the time, so many call it the Jiangjing earthquake. Mired in corruption and bureaucracy, the last thing on Jiangjing's mind was earthquake preparedness. Shaanxi and Shaanxi's dense populations also contributed to the tremendous loss of life. Commoners lived in unstable housing that could not endure the shaking the quake caused. At the time, central China featured a type of architecture that was anything but quake-proof. Many people converted caverns of loess into lodgings or carved cliffside homes from the silty sediment. Loess stayed cool in the summer and mild in the winter, and also proved easy to work with. Loess is a fine, mineral-rich material that can be created by various natural forces, including wind and glaciers. Carried as fine, powdery sediments down streams and other waterways, it can range in thickness from a few inches to hundreds of feet. This pale substance remains loosely packed, making it ideal for relatively easy carving out, and yet it tends to retain its own form, making for robust walls. Convenience aside, it represented the equivalent to building a home on a sand foundation. These residences, known as yaodongs, disintegrated due to the magnitude 8.1 to 8.4 tremors, transforming them from shelters into death traps. And the loss of these poorly constructed yaodongs marked just the tip of the iceberg when it came to shake-induced regional devastation. Loess structures alone weren't to blame for all the damage. Major cities in the area boasted many structures constructed from blocks of stone. Unfortunately, these stones rained down on people during the earthquake, crushing and killing them. Historical records tell us that many major cities saw every single building within their civic limits crumble. The Annals of China describe the quake and its aftermath in this way. Mountains and rivers changed places and roads were destroyed. In some places, the ground suddenly rose up and formed new hills, or it sank abruptly and became new valleys. In some areas, a stream burst out in an instant, or the ground broke and new gullies appeared. Needless to say, most structures in the vicinity never stood a chance. A lack of technology and resources made rescue efforts tricky at best and treacherous to impossible at worst. Modern techniques for protecting buildings from earthquakes were hundreds of years from being developed.
Design engineers need a scientific basis for producing buildings that are going to perform well during future earthquakes.
What's more, the region experienced aftershocks for upwards of 6 months, which further destabilized buildings and landscapes. These residual tremors shattered the remaining residents' nerves and impeded recovery and reconstruction efforts. Where did the earthquake originate? Near Huangxiang in the Weihe River Valley, but the destruction encompassed a 200-mile radius, destroying many neighboring villages and freestanding houses. Some records even lodged damage over 300 miles away. What ultimately caused the earthquake? Most scholars cite 3 active fault lines in the area as culprits. The Annals of China note that of the 26 tremors described in the official records, all had epicenters in the Weihe River Basin. Of course, China has never been a stranger to seismic disasters. For example, 250,000 people perished in an earthquake during the 1970s. But what did the geological activity look like on that fateful day in 1556? Researchers continue to put forth hypotheses. No doubt our understanding of the disaster will expand as scientists continue to analyze and explore the region's seismic past. A few facts are undeniable. According to the Journal of Geophysical Research, the greatest levels of shaking were experienced in the Huangshan and Weinian regions, suggesting that the earthquake ruptured the nearby Huangshan and Weinian faults. Some researchers believe steep slopes, known as scarps, still visible in the region today, are reminders of this disaster and its incredible force. Metropolitan areas located near the Weihe River Basin fared terribly during the jolt, with roughly half of the area's population dying in their residences. The 2 primary provinces impacted by the tremor lost 60% of their total populations. Naysayers claim these figures have been exaggerated. Nevertheless, the reality is that even if they were a bit of an overestimate, it would still easily be the deadliest earthquake in history. According to the Journal of Geophysical Research, researchers believe 1/3 of these casualties died as a direct result of the earthquake and its aftermath, including massive flooding, fires, and landslides. As for the other 2/3, they perished from the famine due to the tremendous path of destruction caused by the event. Moreover, Shaanxi and Shaanxi's disasters proved uniquely damaging to Imperial China as a whole. Other factors contributed to the instability of the region both politically and financially. This was beyond the terrible destructive force of the quake, the lack of quake-proof infrastructure and people crammed in close quarters. The Chinese Empire struggled with many issues, including the inhumanity of Emperor Jiangjing's reign and the deterioration of the nation's borders under the threat of Mongolian nomads. The seismic disaster had incalculable impacts on the Ming dynasty, weakening sovereignty and impoverishing the imperial treasury. Besides a massive death toll, the quake also did irreparable damage to important cultural resources, such as the Small Wild Goose Pagoda. Built between 707 and 710 AD, the Small Wild Goose Pagoda was erected during the Tang Dynasty under Emperor Zhongzhang. One of the 2 vital pagodas in Xi'an, the other being the giant Wild Goose Pagoda, the Small Wild Goose Pagoda features a square base and sturdy brick frame. Those features proved more resilient during the tremor than many other local buildings. That said, during the quake, the Small Goose Pagoda's top collapsed, resulting in a loss of 6 feet in height. What's more, 40 of the 114 stone tablets of the iconic Tang stone classics were broken or damaged, according to Umberto Bresciani, author of Confucian Holy Places. These tablets were located at the Steel Forest Museum. They represented the earliest official stone inscriptions of Confucian classics, containing an incredible 650,000 characters. Besides the damage to the tablets, various other artifacts were also destroyed during the natural disaster, representing an impoverishing of local cultural heritage. After the earthquake, survivors in the region sought better, more quake-proof approaches to construction. These included wood and bamboo, both cost-effective and readily available building material. Dabbling with these construction materials came with varying degrees of success, but both proved robust enough to find applications into the present. Bamboo is still used as a building material, and bamboo frames have proven capable of staying put during earthquakes. Because of the introduction of wooden and bamboo structures, many people forsook lowless caves for above-ground dwellings more resistant to tremors. And it's easy to understand why when you consider the horror survivors witnessed during the earthquake, with massive mudslides destroying house after house. Surprisingly though, millions of Chinese still live in Yaodongs to this day. Despite the lessons learned at Shaanxi, impoverished individuals have few options. Cave dwellings extend back to ancient history, with cave topography being one of the earliest human architectural forms. What's unique to China is a continued use of the form over 2,000 years. Although buyers should beware when it comes to purchasing a yaodong in a seismically active area, cave dwellings come with some fantastic features. These include affordability, energy efficiency, and strategic land conservation, since the arable land remains free from above-ground structures. The Weihe Basin contains many active faults that have contributed to earthquakes over the centuries. Today, scientists are relying on GPS data to help measure slip rates along the fault lines in the basin. This research could help residents better prepare for future seismic events, and it could provide greater insight into the shaking that wreaked so much havoc in 1556. What have they found so far? Research shows that the Weihe Basin belongs to a fault block that is twisted and tilted. The central part is the deepest zone in the basin, and its east, west, south, and north boundaries are all made up of stepped normal faults sloping toward the middle. Scientists have also concluded that the slip rate of the Weihe Fault proves significantly high. That's no surprise for anyone who has studied the history of the area. Better understanding about how the deadliest day in history unfolded will require continued and careful seismic analysis. When you consider the fact that the population of Xi'an, Shaanxi now boasts over 8 million people, another event like that of the 16th century would contribute to a tremendous loss of life. That's why it is of the utmost importance that researchers gain a greater understanding of how earthquakes happen, how to predict them, and how to better prepare for them. Reflecting on the terrible tragedy in central China in 1556, it's disheartening to realize we've made little progress when it comes to predicting earthquakes. Scientists continue to work hard at cracking this geological code. An increased sense of urgency exists for those living in the path of previous tremors, such as Shaanxi and Shaanxi provinces. New Scientist explains, for places with a high rate of historical activity, the chance that a quake will hit in a future period of several decades can be quite high. What's more, highly active fault zones come with the looming threat of future events, decades and even centuries down the road. Which signals are seismologists examining? They've studied various potential predictors. These include measurable geochemical disruptions in groundwater and radon gas concentration shifts. Additionally, they look for the presence and magnitude of foreshocks, and they also watch for indications of geological deformation or warping on the surface of the Earth. Some researchers have even delved into animal behavior, looking for telltale signs a quake is about to hit.
Everything we see suggests that they do sense an earthquake before it's happening. The lemurs were giving alarm calls 15 minutes before the earthquake.
While innovative in their scope and reach, none of these approaches has proven accurate when it comes to predicting future events. This leaves people living in historically active seismic regions on shaky ground, literally. With all the progress made in science, why can't we find a better way to tell when a quake is imminent? Because earthquakes don't come with reliable symptoms or precursors. As a result, from central China to southern California, residents live with the potential for unpredictable disasters located beneath their feet. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more grunge videos about world history are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.